He's a nice guy. I like music.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Emily.
He was at Voice of Girls for
Jose,
a
nice
couple
to meet
years.
you.
Yeah.
You're out from California.
Yes.
He's come back a couple of times, like,
It's always
events or
sunny
whatever.
for
It's
us
like,
all the time.
he's a rock star or something. All the girls like swore him. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
shit.
It is so cute.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
he was one of their favorite teachers.
Go Bill.
Yeah.
That's they're expecting. I don't know. When did they do?
Oh,
July.
oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh.
Oh, that's good.
That's good
Very
news, right?
exciting. Hi, how are you?
What
Should
was
we
the
get
stated
started?
start time?
Okay. I think it's 10.
We can go
but
ahead.
They're just got, yeah, so if you wanted to get started now.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Come on. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking an hour of your morning. I know you had a lot of choices and some pretty cool stuff. I was looking over the options and I don't even know if I would have come to this. But my name is Tim Grady and I serve as the Executive Director at Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Northeastern Ohio. And it's always a welcome opportunity for us to share a little bit about what we're doing here in Northeast Ohio to make a difference for young people in what we believe is to be a pretty unique way. And before we get too far into it, I'd love to, well, Emma will introduce herself, and we both were speaking yesterday. We'd love to hear a little bit from you, who you are, where you're coming from, and maybe what kind of motivated you to select this session, so we can make sure to try to cover during our session some of the principal motivations or interests you have in our program, which is fairly comprehensive. So we want to make sure to cover your interest areas. So with that, I'll hand it over to Emily to tell you a little bit about herself, and maybe we can hear from you then.
My name is Emily Samick, and I serve as the Director of Academics and College Success at Boys Hope, Girls Hope. I was a high school math teacher for 12 years out in Boston, but my home is Cleveland, so returned about a year and a half ago, and I'm working now with Boys Hope, Girls Hope to put together the program that we're going to share with you today. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm Shayna Jeffries. I am currently a graduate student at University of Maryland, College Park, studying school counseling. Came here today, I was talking to Emily a little bit just about, seeing hope in the title was a big deal for me because I'm out in Prince George's County Public Schools right now. There really isn't a lot of that, so just hoping to get something good from today's session.
Great. My name is Jose Malgoza, and I'm from Pasadena, California. I teach out at a Polytechnic school, and I run a 5-week summer program, and we're looking to try to make it year-round, and so I thought this would be a great model to follow. So.
Thank you.
I'm Jane Brown. I'm Director of the Early Childhood Program here at Edway Brown School, so it doesn't seem, I'm sure that there is a sort of direct link to Boys Hope, Girls Hope, but my interest is more globally. I think it's a wonderful initiative for Cleveland. I've lived here for a long time, and also I know Biddy Dorr very well.
Oh, wonderful.
Right, Biddy used to be here, and she has told me so much about the program and has been so passionate about her involvement. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm Kathleen Osborne. I'm the Marketing Director here at Hathaway Brown, and I echo Jane's sentiments. I mean, I know that the program is terrific here in Northeast Ohio, but I'd like to learn a little bit more about it and sort of the way that the program operationally is put together.
We'll do our best.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dominic Seals. I'm also from Cleveland. And the reason why I came here is because I'm a middle school math teacher, and so I wanted to see if the program can help some of my students, or if I can just send people your way and just find more about your program.
Great, thank you.
I'm Terry Lippert. I'm a retired school principal, elementary principal, and I've shared the sentiments of everyone that's interested in hearing more about it.
Thank you. Well, let's roll up our sleeves. One of the things that I heard a couple times was something that this region needs, that you're interested in how we do this. Was it Jane?
Jane.
Jane. Jane mentioned she's working with early childhood and she's not sure how that necessarily correlates, but we have found that if you're familiar with Jeffrey Canada and the work in the Harlem Children's Zone, that this idea of taking a young person from what they call the cradle to the career and providing them and their family with comprehensive support can have remarkable effect on neighborhoods and regions. We like to think that the work of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, which does not start at the cradle or in early childhood, but sometimes I think we wish we had the resources to do that and to bridge with programs that are doing that. We like to think our program is representative of a model that we refer to as middle school to career. So we engage young people, and we'll get a little more into it, but just to give you a high level view of how Boys Hope, Girls Hope evolved is one of our goals. Because we are very much in an evolutionary state right now. We're kind of trying to better understand how we could serve more young people. But some of the core principles that we were founded on in the 1970s are values that we try very hard to honor. And one of them is knowing that at the middle school age, usually heading into 6th grade, is a very important point in the experience of a young person living in urban America. And that a lot of choices and a lot of factors and influences begin to present themselves to these young people, and the decisions they make during that 2 and 3 year period, we very deeply believe will pretty much affect the rest of their life. And if we can provide comprehensive, ongoing partnership, guidance, and advice, good mentorship, strong influences in a positive manner to these young people, we've already seen, and we have seen in our different models of Boys Hope, Girls Hope over the past 40 years, that remarkably wonderful things can happen in the way these young people that we serve make choices that are positive, and that they can learn and grow and accept what they're capable of, and then also harness the various experiences they've had in their childhood as part of their identity and who they are. So with that, I think we want to get into maybe just some quick background on Boys Hope, Girls Hope. I'll share a little bit of that over to, I noticed Emily gave me the 2 slides that have all words. You'll see a lot more pictures going forward, but we did share the slide deck with you as well, so you're welcome to ask questions. Please interrupt as we go through this. But Boys Hope, Girls Hope was originally known as the Jesuit Program for Living and Learning. So if you're familiar with Jesuit schools across the country and throughout the world, this is a 500-year-old order of Catholic priests that started and focused on schools throughout the world. Their schools are very well known and they've been very successful. A Jesuit priest in St. Louis, an elite college preparatory school in St. Louis in the 1970s, was facing a classroom with several young men from the city of St. Louis who were as smart in his mind as the rest of the kids in his classroom, but for reasons out of those young people's control, lack of structure at home, long commutes to school on buses and walking, nobody helping with homework, nobody who were valuing education in their home, the list goes on and on. Those young people were falling behind, and he said, this isn't right. He said, if we had a home for these young men where they could be safe, they could have good meals, homework support, good night's sleep, and the support they needed, they would blossom, they would thrive. He called that the Jesuit Program for Living and Learning. The idea was born in St. Louis. They opened a home. It was very successful over the first few years. By the early 1980s, other Jesuit high schools across the country had heard about this Jesuit Program for Living and Learning, and wanted one in their city. They wanted one for their school. In 1986, former chairman of Goodrich Tire, down in Akron, which if you're not a Clevelander, is about 30 miles south of here, a very influential Akronite named John Ong was approached by a priest at Walsh Jesuit High School. He said, we need to have a home for boys from Akron. We need to address these needs in a way that's very extraordinary. And they did that. They came together and they built a home in Cuyahoga Falls. And in 1989, 6 boys, 4 of them from the 90s who were in that program are still engaged with our work today in various ways. I could share that later with you. But they came to live in this house, and they went to high school at Walsh Jesuit, and they went on to college. The program was simple. give the kids extraordinary opportunity as an extraordinary response to extraordinary need. So it wasn't overthought. It was just a really basic idea. Today, Boys Hope, Girls Hope has spread and has been successful in the cities you see here, 15 in the United States. Emily was actually just in Guatemala a couple weeks ago visiting the chapter down there. The model works. The model works across these 15 U.S. cities and 4 international cities in 7 different manners. So what I mean by that is our service delivery model, why all of these models are mission-centered, all have been kind of retrofitted to the city, the region where we're operating. And also this is and can be a very expensive approach. So you'll hear a little bit today about what we started working on about 9 years ago in terms of recognizing that in residential we were hitting our maximum of about 18 to 20 kids that we could serve, starting in middle school all the way through high school, where they would live with us, we'd send them to high school, and we'd see them all the way through college. So just a quick snapshot of where we are in northeastern Ohio. If you're a Clevelander or an Akronite, some of the stats you'll read over the past few years are that in Akron, anywhere from 30 to 45%, depending on what you're reading, of young people living and growing up in the city of Akron wake up every morning in poverty. Their family are facing extreme lack of opportunity and access to things, basic needs that their children need. In Cleveland, it's even worse. Usually you'll see a number around 50 to 60% of young people are waking up every morning in Cleveland lacking the basic needs and the basic rights that every child in our country should have, every child in the world should have. In 1986, I mentioned a group of people in Akron got together and said that's not acceptable. There are young people with tremendous potential and promise. Maybe we can't serve all of them, but we can do something for some of them. So we have to do something, we have to act. They built that home for 6 boys. In 1999, our board recognized that the need was great in Cleveland as well. They had started just a home for boys. There were many saying, why don't we have a home for girls? So in 1999, the board expanded the program. They added a house where we are now in Garfield Heights, and they opened programming for boys. So Boys Hope moved to Garfield Heights, and the original Boys Home down in Cuyahoga Falls became Girls Hope. So Girls Hope was born, so that's where our awkward name kind of comes from. It was originally Boys Hope, and then we'll just take Girls Hope on the end. So it was Boys Hope, then Girls Hope. We also, at that time, began to do something unique to our chapter, which is over the next 7 years, our program consolidated all of its functioning into one place. So if you are a Clevelander, we would absolutely love to host you at our campus. It's a 2.5-acre old family estate. There's 4th-century homes all next door to each other. If you can imagine, behind is a very large backyard, and it's very quiet and it's very peaceful there. And the homes are beautiful. But over the 1999 to 2007 period is when we kind of, our board slowly embraced the idea of not just the efficiencies that would come with the common operation, but what could it do for building a stronger community. This is what we're talking about today. In 2007, there were a number of folks on the board saying, this is great, this program's working. We're serving 15, 16, 18 young people. We're changing their lives. The impact that will occur when we transform a young person's experience in life by creating opportunity with high expectations is remarkable. What if, or how could we translate this into the community? What about the kids who don't need a long-term out-of-home placement? What about the kids who are facing long odds, but their home situation isn't so chaotic that you need to take them out of their home to give them stability? What about those kids? So what began with, some of you may even know a gentleman named David Stewart who used to be at University School. David left University School in a summer bridge model program there and came to Boys Hope, Girls Hope and assisted in starting an outreach effort that was based very closely on what, if you're local, you know is the very best programs in town that create this summer bridge learning and some ongoing stuff throughout the year for the kids, some ongoing support. It's called Aspire, right here out of Hathaway Brown, and Reach out of University School for young men. The original initiative that Boys Hope, Girls Hope ran was very, very reflective of those models. So we all know that out of California is that summer bridge model that focuses on summer learning loss and giving kids a safe place in the summer, an opportunity for experiential learning that they might not know otherwise. All that began at Boys Hope, Girls Hope in 2007 as part of the question we, as an agency, were struggling with. How do we translate this very successful model into a community-based format? So that took probably 15 years, and if you do your math, that was only about 9 years ago. So we don't think we figured it out fully just yet. But we do know after some trial and learning over the past 9 years or so that we are onto something very special. The results that we are now seeing in the format that we're building is not only sustainable, but the way that our kids are rising through their high school years and through their college years with such success and confidence is really, really motivating to all of us in terms of what's possible. So one of the last things that's important to note from 2007, I won't get into kind of the various mechanical changes we made to the program, but in 2014, so just a couple years ago, we sat down together and said, okay, we think we've seen enough success in the community-based programming, and we know our residential program is strong. What if we integrate these two efforts in terms of the curriculum into a common 11-year program? It was a very important question we were asking ourselves, and what it meant was instead of the summer bridge model alone, we decided to ask a question: what if we not only saw the kids intensively in the summer, but what if we saw them all throughout the year? One thing we were struggling with, and I alluded to it with the Jeffrey Canada model, is that to us, in the model and the profile of the child we are serving, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes, we knew that we needed to be an ongoing partner with them for the long road. Middle school, into high school, all through college, and meaningful relationships, which we learned about in residential programming, mean you gotta be together, you gotta see each other as often as possible. And so what that meant was, last year and again this year, we slowly began to increase our capacity to see young people. We now see our community-based scholars in a planned format 3 times a month during the school year, and then we see them for 6 weeks every summer for a day program. So that equates to 60 or so times a year that we now see our scholars. And we still don't think that's enough in terms of making the progress and the gains around some holistic development areas that we feel like they may not be receiving or experiencing in other areas of their life. So if you're confused, give us a few more slides, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense in terms of the landscape of what's going on at Boys Hope, Girls Hope, and you'll hear in the next couple slides why we are so very excited about this work, because we feel that we're right on the verge of, sometimes we talk about cracking the code for what we're trying to do with young people in a model that we feel like is really hopefully going to be replicable. And so I appreciate that some of you are here with an eye on that. But I mentioned relationships, and this past summer, you'll see Bill Rice in this actually, I just remembered. Some folks photojournalists from California who run a nonprofit for kids from the city to share their love of documentary making, took a few of our kids over the past 2 summers actually out to the Pacific Northwest for 3 weeks. And the kids learned filmmaking and photography in one of the most beautiful parts of our country. And they were so moved by this program they run for kids from across the country, from urban settings. And they were so moved by our scholars, they said, well, could we come to Cleveland? We'd love to profile the 3 scholars who've been on open roads. And we just want to know like, where they're from and what's going on, like what's so special about these kids. That was really a great compliment to our work, and we were like, yes, come please. So to have a professionally done 6-minute film we wanted to share with you to emphasize what we think is the value of the relationships that are forming for our scholars, and hopefully we can have that be an underlying theme of all the work we're doing, that relationship is everything to this work. So with that, I'll introduce to you 3 of our scholars, Kenya, Kiva, and Shaq, who are all seniors with us right now. We can tell you later where they've been accepted at college.
I want somebody to give up on me. It's just like, it's saying, you know what, you're done. No matter what, you do not do that. Like, it could have happened to me. I would have gotten nowhere had people given up on me. But they did. And I'm very grateful for that. It's going to be hard. Difficulty is not an option. It's something that really forms you into the person that you're going to be.
Where I was going to go to high school, when I was coming out of 8th grade, wasn't a very good high school. It was like gang squad was up there all the time, drugs, stuff like that, gang activity, and I didn't want to go to that high school.
My neighborhood's not too dangerous, but it's up there.
It was really kind of just watch out for yourself. I got into fights a lot.
My counselor, I want to thank her personally one day for saving my life. She recommended Boys Hope Girls Hope to me, which is an academic scholarship program. I go live with other students in these houses. I get to get a good education. And I don't have to worry about getting shot or stabbed.
Everyone comes here with the hope, you know, to be better in life. Yeah. I hope that there's something better out there for you.
Cleveland's got a rich history, a champion of industry for a long time. And like many Rust Belt cities, it grew so much that the industry wasn't sustainable long term. A lot of jobs were lost in the past 50 years, and the city's changed quite a bit. Long and short of it is there's a problem of poverty.
Many of the kids in Cleveland and Akron, in the inner city especially, those urban settings are facing long odds with a lack of educational opportunities.
When we moved to Akron, there was no family, there was no like support system, and we hadn't gotten a house. So the first thing we did when we got here was we ended up going to a homeless shelter.
If there was a place that could open the eyes for young people to what is possible for someone to say, look at what you can do with your gifts to change this world, that would be Boys Hope Girls Hope.
Boys Hope Girls Hope is a place for kids who don't have the best home situation. I guess my home situation kind of